Within this section, we're going to learn about two great tools which allow us to perform penetration tasks on websites. So one of them is called SQL map and the other one is called Zap. SQL map will allow us to search for SQL injection vulnerabilities as its name suggests. And Zap will add more features and search for other vulnerabilities in websites as well. So we're going to have a complete picture. So now if you're ready, let's get started.
Hi! Within this section, we're going to focus on automatic tools and we're going to use that automatic tools in order to gather more information about website pen testing. So far, we have gathered our information about vulnerabilities manually. In the previous section, we have seen how to find vulnerabilities regarding SQL injection, for example. And this time, we're going to use a tool that will do everything for us and find the vulnerabilities and also exploit them in a way that we can gather all the database information with one single command. This tool is called SQL map, and within the following lectures, I'm going to focus on another tools that we can use for website pen testing as well. And you will see how actually it is easy to find vulnerabilities and exploit them using this tool. By far, you already know how to use nmap and multi-ego, but we didn't use SQL map before, and this tool actually comes pre-installed with Kali Linux, so we don't have to even bother with installing and using this tool. So I'm using Metasploitable and Kali Linux on the same network, NAT network, and I can ping to the Metasploitable machine and I can reach to this Metasploitable machine dashboard by just writing its IP address. And in my case, it is 10.02.5. If I click the Matildae, it will open for me. As you might remember, we have tried to gather information using SQL get method from this section, okay? A1, injection, SQLi, extract data, and user info. So we have worked on this page, and we found some vulnerabilities regarding the name and the password inputs, and we managed to hash out the rest of the command and run only the parts that we want to, and we manipulated the URL in a way that we can get access to the database. And we found these vulnerabilities using some manual techniques. Now let me show you what happens when we use a tool. So suppose that I don't know the admin password and I will give a regular password, random password as 123, and of course it will give me an authentication error because I specified password as 123123. Now if you copy all this link from here, we can use it in our SQL map tool in order to find out about the vulnerabilities that we can use. So copy this, open a new terminal, and write SQL map. If you hit enter, you will see that SQL map is currently installed, but it actually asks for some parameters. And one of the first parameters it will ask is the URL, and we have this URL to supply in here. So I'm going to say -u, and with a space I'm going to pass all the link. I have to surround this with double quotation marks because this will take this input as a string, as a text, okay? And then I'm just going to hit enter and it will run these tests for me. So let me make this a little bit bigger so we can see it better. Okay, as you can see, it is actually trying to find the vulnerabilities. So we see all the logs in this terminal. For example, it's task 4 get parameter in page, and it says that it doesn't seem to be injectable. And when it finds something, it will alert us that we have found a vulnerability. If you want to continue, say yes. If you don't want to continue, say no, kind of thing. Okay? And yeah, we got our first message. It says that the backend DBNS is MySQL. Do you want to skip task payload specific for other databases? Yes. I don't want to deal with other databases at this moment. I'm just going to focus on MySQL. And it says that, do you want to include all tasks for this MySQL? And I'm going to say yes also. And it found a vulnerability. It says that get parameter username is vulnerable at the bottom of this page. So at this point, you may want to continue testing other vulnerabilities as well, and in that case you should say yes. And if you want to continue with that specific vulnerability that we have discovered, you should say no. Okay, and I'm happy with this result, so I'm going to say no, and it will exit out of that tool because we already have found the vulnerability. Now we can inject some SQL commands into this database. In fact, you can read the description and you can try to manually inject your code as well at this point, but I'm going to show you how to do that automatically with this tool. So if I want to get the details of databases, I can run this with a new parameter called DBs. So it will show me all the databases that are inside this SQL. So if I want to select a new database, or if I want to display the current database that we are working on, I can use another command. And in order to do that, I will run the command one more time. I will run the SQL map command one more time and add some new parameters. And I'm going to do that every time I want to get new information. So you have to use your arrows and just run the same command. This time I will say current DB and it will give me the result of OWASP 10. After that, I may want to continue with the OWASP 10 or choose another database, and it is possible to do that with another command, and I will say -- tables, and I have to specify the database name, and in here I will say OWASP 10. So it shows me the table names of the OWASP 10 database. Now I see this credit card data, and in the previous section we managed to retrieve the information from credit cards table. So what did we do? If you remember, first we got the column names of that table. Okay, and in here we can do that with command also. So let me run this one more time and delete this stuff from here, and I will say columns -- columns, and of course I will have to specify the table name. Okay, so -t credit _ cards, and the database was OWASP 10. So if I hit enter, I will see the column names of that table. So right now all I have to do is just dump the data regarding this table. Okay, I know everything about that table at this moment. So let me run this command one more time. So rather than getting the column names, I will just get all the data regarding this table. So I will specify the table name as credit cards and database name as OWASP 10, but I will say -- dump. And as you can see, it dumped all the data that it could find. So we now see the CCV, credit card numbers, and expiration dates in here. So as you can see, it is pretty easy to run SQL injections using that SQL map tool. So within the previous sections, it took us like 9 lectures, okay, in order to retrieve this information, but this time we managed to get it done within minutes. So this is very efficient tool. This is very good tool. If you want to try for SQL map for other commands, you can always run SQL map -- help and read the descriptions about the other stuff, other commands that you can use with it. So we have seen most of them, but it is pretty useful to read the documentation before you try and test in other databases, other websites. So we're going to stop here, and within the next lecture, we're going to focus on another website penetration testing tool called ZAP. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to focus on another website pen testing tool called ZAP. And this time, the ZAP tool is not limited with SQL injection vulnerabilities, but it also scans for all possible website vulnerabilities in the specified website. So we're going to use that tool on our Matildae vulnerable website. In order to find the tool, just click Show Applications and search for ZAP, and you will see this OWASP ZAP tool. So double click on it and it will pop open for you. If you're first time opening this, you have to say accept, and maybe you can wait for a few minutes to complete this installation process. Since I have opened it before, I believe this will be faster for me, and it will ask me to if I want to connect to my last session. No, I don't want to do that. I just want to create a new session, so I will say no. And I will say start. Before we go and scan for our vulnerabilities in the Matildae website, let me show you the general overview of this ZAP tool. So this is Z Attack Proxy, and this is brought us by OWASP. And we will see how to adjust the settings in order to create our custom scan. In the left hand side, we will see the websites, and in here we will specify the URL to attack to scan on. And it will display all the files and folders in here, and we will see the progress and the logs in down below. We can interrupt the scan and display the results anytime we want from this bottom pane. And let me go here to this sign. This is a settings sign, okay? It will open the options for me. You can specify any kind of option from this menu. As you can see, we have a lot of extensions and they are used for different kinds of scans. You can go to these options and try to see what kind of settings, what kind of adjustments can we get from this OWASP ZAP. I will show you the most important ones. In here you can see the passive scan tools, okay? So passive scan flags, you can choose one of them or you can choose every of them, and maybe you may want to work with some of them and you may want to omit others, and you can choose to do it so from here. And I will show you a better way to adjust the settings. If you click here, you will see some options in this plus sign, and we're going to have a scan, and it will display the result in active scan. But if you click to scan policy manager from bottom pane, you can actually change all the settings regarding to current scan. So this is where you choose what kind of scan do you want to have in this penetration testing. Okay, so if you don't want to lose time in the previous options menu, I suggest you go here to scan policy, and you can change the threshold from here. For example, if you don't want to search for XSS, then you can say off. If you want to search for SQL injection intensely, you can say high. You can change the priorities, you can omit some scans, you can add some scans, and you can set some scans as high priority from this menu. And I don't want to do that. I just want to use the default. So I'm going to cancel this and exit out of this page. So in here, we have to specify the URL. And in order to do that, we have to copy this URL from our web page. I don't want to take this SQL page. I just want to take all the page from here, 10.2.5/Matiliday. I'm just going to copy this link, okay, from here, and I will go to my OWASP tool and paste it in here. Let me paste and delete this HTTP and click on attack. So it will start the scanning process for me, and we can see all the logs from the bottom pane. So we're going to stop here, and within the next lecture, we're going to analyze these results, which we are getting currently in the below pane. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to analyze the scan results that we have started in the previous lecture. So we have started our OWASP Zap attack in the previous lecture, and it's still running, as you can see. And we got a lot of results. We have enough to go over, so I'm going to pause that scan because it may take some time to complete this. I'm going to show you all the results later on. And you can try to gather all the information in here as well, but I believe we have enough to go on. So I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to this alerts tab. You can always go back to this active scan tab and continue your scan. So in here, as you can see, we have some categories. So in the first page, in the first section, we have cross-site scripting. When you see something with a red flag, it means that it is possible to exploit these vulnerabilities. It is likely to exploit these vulnerabilities. And if you click one of them, you can see the request that is sent to the web server in order to understand whether this is vulnerable or not. And you can see all the details in here as well. So you can see the HTML codes, and you can see the JavaScript codes. If you know about any of these programming languages, maybe you can try to read this and try to understand the request and the responses. But if you don't know, it doesn't matter because we also have description in the bottom pane as well. So these are the requests and responses, and this is the description. So in here we have a general description of XSS, and also you get to see more options if you right click any of the results in here, and you can say open URL in browser, and it will open the browser in a new tab, and you can see the request that is sent to the web server. So maybe we can try this with another request. So let me go to the second one and click on here. So it is clearly a get method for cross-site scripting attack. So let me open this URL in browser, and as you can see, we got an alert message. So in the previous sections, in the cross-site scripting section, we managed to inject some alert code, and we managed to display some messages in the user's browser, and in fact, this is doing the same thing for us. So you cannot automatically exploit these attacks, but you can see the vulnerabilities. And if you're knowledgeable about this stuff, for example, if you're knowledgeable about SQL injection, you can use this. You can see that it searches and it tests to see if zap and 1 equals 1 is working. So this is the same thing, but we did it manually before. Now it's doing automatically for us. And if you know what it means, you can open the URL in browser and you can see which username or which inputs are vulnerable, and you can try to gather more information depending on that vulnerability. So you have to know about vulnerabilities and you have to know about ways to exploit them when you use Zap. But right now, I believe you know the general concepts like cross-site scripting, like SQL injection, and command injection, and file inclusion, and other stuff as well. And this gives us a proper documentation. So if you click one of those, you can read the documentation and try to understand whether this is a critical vulnerability or you can just exploit it in a simple way. So again, red flags are the critical ones, yellow flags are the less important ones, but I suggest you to go over every result and try to understand the descriptions and try to match the things that we have learned in the previous sections. So if you manage to come to this point, we are almost at the end of the ethical hacking section, and within the next section we're going to see different certifications that we can get for our career, and then we will move on to Python section.
Hi, now you know how to run a SQL map and Zap tools in order to search for vulnerabilities within websites. So we are almost done with the ethical hacking section. In the next section, we're going to focus on various options for ethical hacking certifications, and then we'll step into the Python for ethical hacking coding.